Hey Boy Meets World fans, thanks for being here. Hit that like and subscribe button, but either way, I'm glad you're here. We're talking about season 1, episode 17. Now we are back on track with The Order on Disney Plus, with The Fugitive, which actually happens to be my second favorite episode of season 1. In fact, my first and favorite episode of season 1 is actually the one after this. But let's talk about The Fugitive. Corey's trying to go outside to play baseball in a thunderstorm. I was like, my life is boring, predictable, no surprises. And here's Sean, soaking wet, snuck through his window. The cops are after me, maybe even the FBI. You're not involved unless you want to be. And of course, Corey's like, I'm in. Sean lit a cherry bomb and threw it down a mailbox. And Corey's like, why am I never around when the great stuff happens? So Sean can't go home. He thinks the cops, the FBI could be after him, and he wants to stay at Corey's. Corey's like, sure, I'll ask my mom. Oh, you're really new at this. And when Sean looks under the bed, because he's thinking about hiding there, he goes, hi, how you doing? That's something that did stick, because it is sprinkled throughout later in the show. And there goes Corey with, I'm accomplice boy. Another phrase that did not work. Corey trying to hide a secret is so obvious that he's trying to hide a secret. Corey is really funny in this scene. I've got so much homework. I need fuel, enough for 2, even though there's 1 of me. Isn't that interesting? Alan's like, Corey, you're grounded. What'd I do? I don't know, but it's got to be at least worth 2 weeks. Oh my god, Sean wearing Corey's clothes is so funny because they are way too small for him. And here comes Eric, thinking that Corey's hiding a puppy. And of course, Eric finds Sean and now wants to be bribed for his silence, but doesn't want to know anything. As Amy brings Morgan up for her nightly bath, and here comes Alan. Everybody's converging on the little room. In the classroom, Topanga and Minkus are speaking about this, and Topanga thinks that Sean was making a bold political statement, while Minkus says, what's that, build more prisons? And here comes Mr. Feeney with the guilt. I'm guessing no one knows where Sean is, aiming his question, of course, at Corey. Of course, Corey knows too much of the story, and yet Minkus is like, I smell a cover-up, and Corey's like, I smell a nerd with 9 fingers. And Feeney's like, unhand that Minkus. And then they start reading from What Else? The Telltale Heart. Amy's vacuuming Corey's room, and she clearly knows that Sean's there, but she's playing it cool. Way cooler than Corey. And here comes Alan, clearly also knowing, but playing it cool, but not as cool as Amy, as he practically jumps on the bed that he knows Sean is under, but he's not supposed to know. Corey trying to act like he made the sounds that Sean's making under the bed as Alan flops on the bed. But I do like that Alan's like, you know what, Corey, no matter what, you always come home, no matter what. And I love that. It's interesting that Sean's like, I crossed the line from little bad things to big bad things, and Corey's just got so much faith in his dad. He can talk to your dad, work it out. It's such a nice feeling with how much he trusts his dad, you know. And of course, Sean takes off. I like that Corey's like, you didn't know it, but Sean was under my bed. His parents are like, really? Yeah, we did know it. Mr. Feeney saw him sneaking in yesterday. It's a conspiracy. Continuity issue. They say, I know Sean's your best bud. He's been your best friend since he taught you how to pick the lock on your playpen. But see, their flashback shows them much older than that, so it's kind of funny. And here comes one of Alan's life lessons. I knew a kid like Sean. I was that kid. I like Alan's because Corey's like, well, what happened to you then? Did you ever go to California? No. I somehow ended up in a room having this conversation with you. Oh my god, I love when Mr. Feeney walks into his classroom and he sees the sleeping bag under his desk. Well, I guess my classroom's empty. What a wonderful time to set fire to my desk. Here comes Sean. I like Mr. Feeney telling Sean, Corey's been a true ally to you. The one who's betrayed this friendship is you when you asked him to lie. Once the integrity has been compromised, even the strongest friendship can rip. I do like when Corey shows up and Mr. Feeney's like, all week long, you two ache to get out of this classroom. And here it is, the middle of the night, and you're sneaking into it. This episode does show the beginning of not only Sean's kind of backstory, but also the fact of his penchant for wanting to run away. Because he wants to run away. He doesn't want to go home. And Corey's like, your parents gave me a ride here. They're outside. You gotta go home. You gotta come back on the other side of the line with me, man. And the end credit scene is Sean finally being ungrounded, going to see Corey. There's an important 1 minute left in a game. Amy's got a spreadsheet, a few numbers left. Eric's on the phone with a girl about to get her address to meet her. And everybody's doing something. Morgan's blow drying her doll's hair. And then the lights go off because he put the bill in the mailbox on Cherry Bomb Day. So the electricity did not get paid. So he runs out the door. Good night, everybody. I like it when he hugs the TV, though, before that. TV, hi. This one is such a good episode for so many reasons. So then I will talk about the podcast. Okay, so we're talking about the podcast for The Fugitive. And I have to say right off the bat, Will, I totally feel you. I know what it's like to have people call me ma'am. So getting that whole sir thing, I understand. And I have to agree with Will and disagree with Ryder. I think Boy Meets World is a classic show that, because of streaming, will be continued to be discovered by new generations. I mean, has been and it is, and it's such a good show, and I still love watching it. Okay, and the guy who thought Danielle was 60? Come on! I do agree this is one of the more important episodes of Boy Meets World for sure. Okay, I'm going to have to slightly disagree with Danielle saying that the lesson that Feeney gives at the end could have come earlier, because I don't think so, because I don't think earlier Sean would have been in the mindset to accept that information. So I do think it came at the right time, because at that point he was contemplating not running away, at that moment, or he was contemplating his options. So I think that he was more receptive of that information at that time. Having to do a table read when the aftershocks of an earthquake come through? No thanks. That is one thing I am not a fan of about California. The whole ground opening up and swallowing everything around it. No, I'm good. Okay, I'm with Will and Ryder. I did not notice the parking meter in the bedroom. Okay, I am a fan of rain episodes. Like, anytime there's rain, I love it. I agree with Ryder. Oh yes, the rain is a total vibe and mood. And like Will said, it gave Ryder all the reasons to do the hand through the hair thing, his signature move. Oh my god, it is a drinking game if you were to take a shot every time he puts his hand through his hair. You won't make it till the end of the episode. Kids, don't do that. Don't do that. That is a good point. They do point out that he would not throw the cherry bomb because there were people around, and he thought that, so he was not a dangerous kid. And it is true that he found the matches. He didn't have a lighter, so it was fate. It is an interesting way that they wrote it. I'd agree, Will. Oh my gosh, poor Ryder passed out during this episode.
Your motivation is...
Oh my god. Trying to get a child actor to pace apparently is a great deal of effort, according to Danielle. So the fact that Ryder did it so effortlessly was a win. optical flip when Corey tries to lie, which is hilarious. Okay, I agree. I also like when Ryder and Sean looked under the bed. Hi, how you doing? I love that part. And I think it's adorable that Ryder's son Indy was like, "Who are you saying hi to? Who is down there?" All of Eric's, "You're hiding a puppy." Like, I still love all of that. It's true. They did change Eric's clothing style in this episode, but it's nice to hear that Will remembers being more comfortable in his skin at that point. Yes, we do see Alan and Amy's room one time, and it's when the episode where Eric takes the girl upstairs, shows her the house, and they end up kissing on the bed. I remember that one. We never see Morgan's room. Yes, Topanga's hair was so big. It's so pretty. This episode is a good illustration. It takes me back to like when you are a kid and you think you're getting away with something with your parents, but they already know, but they're not letting you know that they know. And it's just like, it's so funny how they did this episode because it really takes you back to that nostalgia type feel. Yes, this episode could allude that Sean's dad maybe does hit him, but I always kind of thought it was more the fact that Sean had never done anything to this magnitude. It was a post office box. It was a government thing. And I felt like that was kind of more just the blowing out of proportion that a lot of kids can do. But it could be either way, you know, like Ryder said, there's probably kids that could relate to that feeling. But I think we can all relate to that feeling, if not for different reasons. I think Ryder's right. Like, his character did bring a certain realism to Boy Meets World that gave us kind of an outside of the box thinking of not all families are as nice, you know, as we would hope they would be. And yes, Mr. Feeney reading The Telltale Heart directly to Corey without a book. Amazingness. Okay, to answer Will's question, Pong was the reference in the show in the 90s, so today I think it would be Nintendo or Sega. The whole Amy vacuuming, hitting Sean's head, and Alan coming in and jumping, you know, laying on the bed really hard. Those were all very hilarious, like almost physical comedy moments, and they're very sitcom-y, but they're kind of real at the same time. And that's what I think I love about, one of the things I love about Boy Meets World, because they manage to meld the two so well a lot of the time. I love Will's attention to detail, and I love him mentioning the black and white episode because that's one of my favorites. And I just love that he has these memories, man, and like nobody else remembers, but he remembers the details. When Corey calls his dad and Sean leaves, I have to disagree with Danielle. I wasn't bummed. I think it tracks with Sean's character. I mean, of course Sean was going to jump out the window. I too also really love that Alan told that story and compared his young self to Sean. I always think it's a great moment. Yay, too much shirts. Oh my god. I love Indy. He's like, "Have you ever lit a firecracker?" It's like, "You don't even know me, Dad. I love firecrackers. I just haven't lit one." And he starts talking about the kids that want to break out of school and the girl who dug a hole. The girl who dug a hole under the fence and then, "I'm free." She had her water bottle and money. She was planning things, but she got caught. Okay, Indy is hilarious. "Where would you go if you ran away?" "To my backyard. I'm waving to my parents and I don't think they see me." "Roasting marshmallows on the side of my trampoline." Oh my god, Indy is hilarious. Because then Ryder's like, "Don't ever run away. You can always come home." He goes, "Yes, father. Wink." Yeah, Eric was cooking something on the stove and then he just left with Morgan. "No, bye." Good eye, Will. How did Sean get a sleeping bag? Mr. Feeney giving the lessons. "No, you asked him to lie. You're the one messing up the friendship. Here, have a bandana." And Corey with the empty bag is kind of like Sean with the random sleeping bag. The drama of that scene between Corey and Sean in the classroom, it really cements their friendship on this show. I love this ending credit scene with just everybody, the power going out, and, Sean doing the Johnny Carson, "Good night, everybody." Okay, so I am tacking on the rest of this because there was a few extra podcasts thrown in there, and I forgot to tack on one to the previous episode, so I'm just going to tack them on here. So I'm going to try to cliff note this as quickly as I can. Okay, so on the Dewan Guy podcast episode, right off the bat, I just want to say, Will, you're not weird. You're mythical. You're whimsical. And not washing your legs in the shower is a little different. And never using a washcloth. I'm not sure if you were kidding. I don't know. But using shampoo to wash your whole body. Not sure about that one. But I kind of love that you wear superhero underoos. It's cool. Dewan Guy's character was definitely the most fleshed out of the third friend characters on Boy Meets World for sure. Thought it was interesting that Dewan actually got some input on his wardrobe because it didn't sound like anybody else did. And I do remember Dewan from Baywatch and Sister Sister and In Living Color, which was a great show. And Danielle's impression of Fire Marshal Bill, very hilarious. Dewan does make a good point about child actors. It's not just about the kid, it's about everything that comes with the kid. And it's so important to have that family and faith and community for a child star, as we saw a lot of child stars did not. And maps, still so important. Those things we had before GPS. I like their Thomas guide because it sounds a lot like the key map we had back in the day. It was a book. Like, for real. Zach Morris car phone. That's a thing for people that know, And speaking of cars, everybody had the club for their car, for the steering wheel. That was a thing. Ask your parents. Danielle auditioning for Free Willy is a cool tidbit. But as Will said, she lost out to the whale. The killer whale. It was originally going to be Free Topi. Joke. All the audition stories were really cool. And I got the feeling that Mike Moran, who got all the commercials according to Will, was kind of Will's, commercial rival, if you will. Ryder auditioning for Hook is pretty cool. And young Indiana Jones, which I can totally see. Same day. And crazy that George Lucas made Ryder cry. But Steven Spielberg sounded amazing. He was complete opposite of George Lucas. Seemed like that was a very cool experience. And I kind of love that Ryder was the best Street Fighter 2 player, according to Will. And I do love that Dewan's son told him about the Pod Meets World podcast. That's very cool. And merch is truly the Feeny call of the podcast. Okay, so talking about the episode they were talking with their live, I thought that was really cool that they shared a little clip here and there with us. It sounds like it was a really amazing time. So kudos to everyone, all the lucky ducks that got to be there. And Ryder's opening sounded very intriguing. Those of us who weren't there will never know. And so I love that they did the Pod Meets World podcast was my idea t-shirt. So cool. And yay for Danielle finishing her movie. And, I have to agree with Danielle. I agree. Will is actually better looking than Leonardo DiCaprio, but I never found him that attractive. I was not that girl. So I have to agree with Danielle. And thank you for finishing your stalker story, Danielle. I was curious about that. I'm very glad you were not at school that week. Yikes. And yeah, Ryder's creepy letters of the person wanting him to kill them. Wow. WTF, for real. And, I would love to get Jonathan Taylor Thomas on this podcast, just because he's great. But yeah, I would love to hear about some of his letters because Danielle says they were very weird. I have no doubt. Okay, Danielle, I get it. When you're young, you think you're invincible, but getting out of the car to confront someone following you, oh my God, the folly of youth sometimes. Maroon? Who doesn't know what maroon means? Come on. GIF or GIF? Apparently, I've been saying it wrong. I always say it with a G, but apparently it's good to know that it's supposed to be with a J. And it was pretty cool that they explained the whole residuals. That was pretty interesting. Okay, so I forgot about the banned episodes, but I did check they're all on Disney Plus, so no worries there. And I can say the one where the prom one, where they were gonna have sex. I can understand Ryder being upset about them not addressing the safe sex of it all, but they didn't do anything, so it's like I kind of feel like it was a moot point at that particular juncture. And I just remember loving that episode so much because Eric was freaking hysterical in that episode. So a horror show, a horror spinoff of Boy Meets World, wild idea. Getting the cast together to play other characters is intriguing. Not surprised that Will came up with it though. Ryder would be in a coma since he doesn't like to act, so that tracks. Danielle rapping. I can actually see that. She's so versatile. I was surprised when they said that right after their show got canceled, they no longer had Disney perks. They were like, that's it. Bye-bye. You're not making us money anymore. Will and Melissa Joan Hart having Disney to themselves at 3 a.m. sounds like a fun time. And I love, love, love that they got to meet Michael J. Fox and he knew who they were. How dreams really do come true. So the sets were fake, no running water, no refrigerator, but they had a tank that they could make a sink work if they needed to. And you know what? I did know that Mr. Turner's apartment later became Jack and Eric's apartment. Glad to hear that, again, I'm glad we got to hear a couple of clips from the live. That was really cool. And I agree. Angela and Sean did make out a lot. It was excessive, but I love that it wasn't weird for them, so that's really cool. I will say I am kind of wishing they would release the live just because so few people got to listen to it in comparison to the audience that they have on the podcast and the fans of the show. But I guess I get keeping it special. And I really appreciated that they talked about other shows they would be on, would want to be on. Of course, Will is MASH, naturally. Ryder in A Gritty Cop Show, Trina in Good Times, Danielle, The Practice, of course. Did anyone besides me find it hilarious when Danielle was like deadpanning to the wow to Will and Ryder not gambling? I can totally see Danielle being a poker player, and I used to play a little bit back in the day, and I can completely agree with her. As a woman, you do get underestimated in that game. Maybe not so much now, but 20 years ago, definitely. I liked Will's question. Why do you play on the river? Oh no, to the woman who saw Will and Ryder and spilled her coffee in the elevator. How embarrassing. But it's like, it's so cute though at the same time. It's so funny. And I love Danielle's favorite fan moment of people coming up to her going, you are my biggest fan, like getting jumbled with their words. So apparently a lot of people call Boy Meets World Boys Meets World or something like that. And I've never said it like that. I always say it correctly. I could totally see a Topanga Meets World. That's great. And you know, I think it's funny that Will gets mistaken for Ryder and Ryder gets mistaken for Will. That's hilarious. And Danielle getting mistaken for being on Full House, gold. So on this particular pod episode, Chris Kyer, the dialogue coach, was the guest. And he has a Christmas store in LA. And it's Christopher Kyer's Christmas store. And he was the youngest ringmaster at the Ringling Brothers Circus, and he wrote a book. He is a true showman. He said that wrangling lions was easier than wrangling Morgan. I could believe it. Will did say, I mean, quite excessively. Ryder wanted to come across as real in his 14 shirts. Danielle's mom almost didn't take Danielle to that first audition. Can you imagine? Okay, so a movie between a war between a Halloween and a Christmas store actually sounds pretty cool. I like it, Ryder. Lily slapped Chris after giving her a note. Crazy. So she was just as bold in her real life as she was as Morgan the character. So after Chris Kyer left BMW, he went to Grace Under Fire and That 70s Show, just to name some. And he claims to have been the man that taught Jessica Simpson to act. Not sure. Is that a good thing? He also taught Antoine Yelchin, may he rest in peace. And let's see, Rusty is a big Christmas store guy. I love it. So, side notes about Chris. He kind of sounds like Martin Short, in my opinion, and apparently he is a Dick Van Dyke lookalike, which means he got to do a commercial driving the actual Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car. Very cool. Did it for a commercial. And he plays Waldo all around the country, so we've found Waldo. So I really like the way Chris Kyer left this podcast, because he said the secret to being happy is go for every dream you have. They won't all come true, but having gone for them will leave you the most fulfilled person with no regrets. A dream is only a dream until you make it a reality. If you go for your passion with sincere energy, you will be the happiest person. I really thought that was cool. So a few notes from the background actors podcast episode. 23andMe sounds really cool. They got a lot of really in-depth information for each of their backgrounds. And I kind of love that even Will has apparently been confirmed as a bona fide superhero in a way. It was really just cool to hear some of the background actors. And it was really neat that they did that episode, I thought. And yeah, Danielle's car dangling off the cliff at Ryder's old house. That sounds terrifying, okay? Definitely off the beaten path, but definitely tracks for Ryder. He would be out there somewhere off the grid. So I thought it was really cool that one of Ryder's BFFs was actually an extra on Boy Meets World, but he didn't know this until he met him later in life. See, what is meant for you will find you always. And Cal Penn was also a background actor at one point on Boy Meets World. And no, Will, I love your merch yell at the end of every episode. It makes it. And that with also pod dismissed, or in this case, video dismissed. See you next week. Feel free to like and subscribe.